Today, we're going on an incredible journey with a young man named Joseph. His story is filled with challenges, dreams, betrayal, and redemption. But above all, it shows us how trusting in God can turn the darkest moments into blessings. Whether you're familiar with Joseph's story or hearing it for the first time, stay with me, it's going to be a powerful journey. Joseph's story begins in the book of Genesis, chapter 37. Joseph was the favorite son of his father, Jacob, out of 12 sons. Jacob gave Joseph a beautiful, colorful coat to show his love, but because of this special treatment, Joseph's brothers grew jealous and even started to hate him. One day, Joseph had a dream that would change everything. In this dream, he saw himself as a leader, with his family bowing down to him. He believed this dream was from God, but when he told his brothers, they only got angrier. "Are you really saying we'll bow down to you?" they sneered. The jealousy in their hearts grew even stronger. One day, when Joseph went to check on his brothers in the field, they saw their chance. "Let's get rid of him," they said. Instead of killing him, they decided to sell him to merchants passing by. These merchants were on their way to Egypt, a foreign land far from home. Imagine Joseph's shock, betrayal, and fear. He had trusted his brothers, and now they were selling him as a slave. But Joseph didn't know that this painful journey was just the beginning of God's plan for him. According to Genesis 50 verse 20, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." This verse shows us that even when people do wrong to us, God can still bring good from it. When Joseph arrived in Egypt, he was sold to a man named Potiphar, who was one of Pharaoh's officials. Although Joseph was far from his family, he didn't lose hope. He continued to trust in God, and because of that trust, God was with him. Joseph worked hard, and soon he was promoted to take care of all of Potiphar's household. But then, something bad happened. Potiphar's wife lied about Joseph, and Potiphar, believing her story, threw Joseph into prison. Now, Joseph was back in a terrible place, this time in jail. But guess what? Even in prison, God was with him. Joseph kept his faith, and God blessed him again, even while he was behind bars. Joseph was put in charge of all the prisoners. According to Genesis 39 verse 21, the Lord was with Joseph, he showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. While Joseph was in prison, he met two men who used to work for Pharaoh. They each had strange dreams, and Joseph, with God's help, was able to interpret them. Later, Pharaoh himself had disturbing dreams that no one could interpret. That's when Pharaoh's servant, who remembered Joseph from prison, suggested that Joseph could help. When Joseph was brought before Pharaoh, he gave all the credit to God. He explained that Pharaoh's dreams meant 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. Pharaoh was so impressed that he made Joseph second in command of all Egypt, a position of great power. Just imagine, Joseph had gone from being a slave and prisoner to a powerful ruler. The famine struck, just as Joseph had said, and people from all over came to Egypt for food, including Joseph's brothers. They didn't recognize him at first, but Joseph knew exactly who they were. Joseph had a choice, he could take revenge, or he could forgive. Joseph chose to reveal himself and forgive his brothers. They were terrified, thinking Joseph would punish them. But instead, Joseph told them, "Don't be afraid. What you meant for harm, God used for good." Joseph saw that everything he had been through, the betrayal, the prison, the pain, was part of God's plan to save lives. Genesis 45 verse 5 says, "And now, do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life." Joseph's journey shows us that even when we face hard times, God has a plan. He can take our lowest moments and use them for good. Joseph's story teaches us 3 powerful lessons. 1. Trust in God, even in tough times. When Joseph was in prison or treated unfairly, he still trusted God. 2. God can bring good from bad situations. Even when people betray us, God can turn it around for our benefit. 3. Forgiveness brings healing. Joseph forgave his brothers, and that brought peace and restored relationships. A closing Bible verse, Romans 8 verse 28 says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Joseph's life shows us that God can be trusted through every twist and turn. Keep believing, keep trusting, and watch how God will guide you through life's challenges.